learn when to shut up and learn when to speak up. Take those opportunities and try and always enjoy what you do. I'm Alison Brettle. I work at the University of Salford. I'm a professor in health information and evidence-based practice, and I'm the Research Centre Director for the Centre for Applied Health, Welfare and Policy Research. And the beginning of my career, I certainly didn't choose it. I didn't think I would ever be a professor, and I didn't think I would ever go into research. My first degree was in European Business and Languages, and my first professional post, I worked for an organisation that did a database providing information on Europe to small businesses. That was when we were going into Europe rather than when we were coming out of Europe. And I had an admin role there at that organisation, but obviously there was lots of information professionals working there, and I was watching what they were doing, and I was quite bored in my job. And when I had a development meeting, I said that I wanted to do what they were doing because it looked more interesting. And I was able to transfer, but then later on when I was made redundant from that role, I didn't have any professional qualifications. So I took a job working in the health service, working in an IT department, just when quality and clinical audit was becoming popular in the NHS. And I worked as an IT assistant fixing people's printers. And at the same time, I got my master's degree in information studies, so got my professional qualification as a library and information professional. And from there, I moved into supporting research, and that took me on my path to what I do now. One of the main challenges that I faced was once you're in a research environment or an academic environment, is that you really need to get a PhD to get anywhere. Doing a PhD wasn't something that I'd really see myself doing. It wasn't something I particularly wanted to, but I was already doing a research job and I'd already written a number of papers. And I did see that to get any further, I did need to get a PhD. But the normal way of doing a PhD is to give up your life for 3 years or 5 years and do a really large research project. And that to me sounded really, really quite scary. And also something I didn't think that I would be able to do. One, because there wasn't the funding for me to do it. And also I worked part-time. I had a young family by that point, and I'd already watched my husband doing a PhD. And then I found out that there was another route to a PhD, which was by published works. So things that you'd written over a period of time, you could put them together as a portfolio and then register and write them up in a thesis for 1 year. When I heard about that route, that seemed much more acceptable to me to do it that way because I was already part way on that path. The only problem with that route was that that wasn't open to part-time members of staff at the university at the time. So I campaigned to get the regulations changed so that instead of just being open to full-time academics, it was open to part-time women like myself. So work-wise, it's a guy called Professor Andrew Long. So he was the guy in my second professional post that I think he saw some potential in me. He saw that I could be a manager, he saw that I could be an academic, and he saw that I could be a teacher. All those things that I didn't realise I could do myself. And he got me involved in research. So rather than just supporting research as a librarian, he actually got me doing the research and being part of the team. But I wouldn't have been able to do any of those things if it hadn't have been for my mum. My mum, she never wanted to have a career, she wanted to be a mum. So what she's done, she looked after my children, and she now looks after my dog so that I can go to work and actually have the career that I've got. I think usually at work it's happy tears. I get a real buzz when I have a lot of PhD students of my own now, and I think when they've got through an assessment, most of them have a really hard time doing a PhD. PhDs always seem to bring difficulties in personal lives at the same time as doing something really hard academically. And I think when they get through an assessment, that's something that makes me cry. And when I see them at the end of the journey, when they're walking across that graduation stage, that always brings a tear to my eyes. I think there just seems to be so much to do the whole of the time. Email seems absolutely relentless, and I think that if you don't keep up with email and don't answer things, everything gets on top of you, so that's quite frustrating. And also I think the world seems to have changed, that everything seems to be pushed back onto the person that first asked something. So you can ask a question, you get half an answer back, and then it comes back round, and it seems to go round and round in a loop, and it seems to take a long time to get anything done, and I find that really frustrating. I'm really fortunate in the unit where I work. We have quite a high number of female professors. We've not always all been professors, but the support that I've had from those women has been immense. So Paula, Anya, Louise, thank you. I think I've always really enjoyed my work. I would like to make sure that I carry on enjoying it all the time that I am working. Also, I do really enjoy helping and facilitating other people to get to where they want to be as well. And I think the more that I can do that and help people, even in a small way, to get to do what they want to do and give them the confidence to do what they want to do. I think to take those opportunities, you don't always believe that you can do particular things, but I think if somebody gives you the nudge and they tell you that you can do something, or they even partly open a door for you, make sure you go through it and make sure you take that opportunity. I think that women tend to have less confidence in taking up research or research posts. I also think they have less time, so they need to be able to manage their time even better than they're already pretty good at managing their time. But I think they have to be more creative and find ways of doing it. And often they have to put themselves first. I don't think women are great at putting themselves first. They're really good at putting everyone else first. And I think sometimes if there's something you really want to do, you have to put yourself first. You might have to wait a while until it's the right time for you, but I think you need to make sure that you do that. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. Most people can be researchers. I think there's lots of things that need researching. There's lots of places for you. So if you want to do it, go for it and put the work in, and you'll get there. I've done a number of things at a national level. I'm chair of my Library and Information Research Group, and the whole point of that group is to get people, or to get librarians involved in research. So we run events and we run training courses to help them do that. I helped set up an international journal where we encourage people to write, particularly people that haven't done a lot of research and it's often their first paper. So I was there on the ground when that journal was started up. So I think we've always actively encouraged people that aren't traditional researchers to do research and to write. So I've done that on those levels. And at work, I'll always support anybody that would come and ask me for advice. I've had lots of informal mentoring myself during my career. I've never gone for formal mentoring, but I've always sought informal mentoring, and I'm more than happy to do that on an individual basis for anybody that actually just wants to come and ask me. I think women aren't very good at celebrating themselves. I know that's something that I've never been very good at, is celebrating myself. I think I never realised that it was that important. I think I've been really lucky, really fortunate that I've always felt like I've had lots of support all the way through my journey. And it was only as I've got further up the tree that I've sometimes hit some resistance, and that's kind of really made me realise that maybe my situation was a bit unique, either that or I was so thick-skinned that I didn't realise I wasn't getting support in some ways. So I think it is really important to support women in research, because I don't think they're very good at doing it for themselves. They're too busy doing everything else.